What does it mean to live more with less? I'm Katie Wells, and welcome to the Maximized Minimalist Podcast. If you found yourself caught up in the hamster wheel of modern-day motherhood and want to rewrite the script, congratulations, you're in the right place. I'm here to be your guide and help you take back your motherhood and achieve a simpler, more joy-filled life. Cheers to being a maximized minimalist. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the show. I want to give a super special shout out to our very first simplifier of the week, Stephanie. All right, if I were a DJ right now with the little sound booth, I would be hitting the cowbell button. So just pretend you can hear the cowbell. I'm celebrating. This is cowbell worthy. Okay, Stephanie shared her amazing win with us, and I just had to highlight it. Here's what she said. She said, I started decluttering my upstairs walk-through area, and I only cleaned 2 corners of the room so far, but it made an immense difference. I even took a big carload to St. Vincent de Paul. All right, this is a great reminder that you don't have to tackle an entire room to feel the impact of decluttering. 2 corners, just like Stephanie said, made such a big difference on her mental load. Like, this is huge progress, and I'm so proud of you for taking action and making those changes happen. So if you're listening and you also have a win to share, I'd love to hear from you. Head to the link in the show notes to submit your wins, big or small. You never know, you might be the next simplifier of the week. All right, let's dive into today's topic, decision fatigue. Holy cannoli, this impacts every single one of us. It is that sneaky mental drain that keeps up on us after making a bazillion decisions throughout the day. And it leaves us feeling exhausted and less capable of focusing on what we need to focus on, what we want to focus on. If you've ever stood in front of your closet, maybe debating what to wear, and it's just taking too long, or maybe you, like me, have circled the kitchen 5 times trying to figure out what's for dinner. This is what I'm talking about. And decision fatigue doesn't just impact our energy, it stalls our progress. And when it comes to decluttering, simplifying, or any big life goal, it can be a total momentum killer. And here is the disclaimer. With these tips I'm going to be sharing with you, I think we need to understand that the end goal is not like, oh, I'm going to implement 1 or 2 or all of these tips and I'll never have decision fatigue ever again. Right? It's normal to feel decision fatigue, but using them and implementing them, right? That's the key, is going to really reduce it. So that you can continue to make forward progress, forward momentum, and reach your goals. Like, this is what this is all about, skyrocketing your progress. Okay, so let's jump in. Number 1 is to automate the small stuff. Maybe you've heard the concept that our brain loves habits. Why? Because habits are automatic. We don't have to consciously think about a habit. We just do it, right? Therefore, habits don't tend to impact our decision fatigue or create decision fatigue. They're automatic. So here's the thing. Not every decision really needs to be a decision. The more you can automate, aka create a habit of these little things, and I say little with air quotes, the more energy you'll have to save for the big decisions. And this could mean creating a weekly meal plan so you're not staring at the fridge 6 p.m. every night, or setting up a daily uniform of sorts of like go-to outfits. And I like to think of this as decluttering your mental space, right? You're removing the unnecessary back and forth, and you're making life a whole lot easier. And I also want to point something out here. I think a lot of us over the years have heard of like, oh, meal planning. And maybe you do already weekly meal plan. That's great. Or maybe you've tried it and failed, or it didn't work out, or life got busy, all the things. So I want to say that sometimes we fall off of habits like this because life, right? So give yourself grace, but also perhaps understanding the why behind it versus like, oh, I should meal plan because I just should for the sake of doing it. I've fallen into that trap as someone who likes to quote unquote be productive. And when I hear influencers or other people who I aspire to be like say, here's what I do, aka meal plan, I'm like, oh, I should do that. Without understanding the underlying why behind it, it's harder for us to stay on track with that stuff because there's really no meaning behind it. So if you're like, oh, Katie, I've tried meal planning in the past, like maybe consider that. Like, why are you doing it? It's not just for the sake of doing it, or because like, we're supposed to meal plan because like we're so productive, right? That's not the point. Automating the small stuff. I'm telling you, there is never a week that goes past where I've meal planned and regretted it. Like regretted the 10 minutes up front. Remember, meal planning is different than meal prepping. Okay, very different. Meal planning is just planning ahead. Here are the meals that we are going to be having. I've never regretted it ever. I'm spending time on the front end to save myself tons of time on the back end. Remember, there is a return on your investment in this automation process. So ask yourself, what's one area of my life where I can reduce decision making? All right, I want to talk about another one. This is one I started maybe 6 months ago, and I love it. It has become a little happy ritual of mine, which is really great because it's not just a habit that isn't meaningful. It's like my me time. And I started doing planning my weekly outfits. So I realized I was wasting too much time every morning trying to figure out what to wear, right? Decision fatigue hit straight first thing in the morning. And I'd stand there overwhelmed, and then I'd just throw on the same outfit. Not a big deal, but ultimately I love the clothes in my closet and I want to enjoy them. But because I didn't put a little work in on the front end to decide my outfits, I just wore the same thing, right? This is what I'm talking about. So now every Sunday I take like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I look on my phone because I snapshot a lot of style kind of inspiration from people I follow or Pinterest and things like that. And I'm like, oh, I could build this outfit. So boom, 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 I pick out the outfit and I hang it in a dedicated spot in my closet. I look at the weather, schedule, things like that. And this simple shift has been such a game changer. Mornings feel a little bit less chaotic. Not that they felt chaotic before, but it's like one less thing I have to think about. I literally just go get my clothes on. I'm wearing all of my clothes. They're not turning into clutter. And surprise, it's become one of my favorite activities. I also love fashion. I love styling. So this is why it feels like self-care to me. You might not feel that way, but perhaps you're like, hey, I don't have to love fashion and style to still pre-pick out some clothes for the week. Or maybe you pick like a daily uniform, something simple that automates it. That's the whole idea. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It's just about taking decisions off your plate in advance so you can free up brain power for other things. Okay, you might have noticed kind of a pattern when I was talking about the different examples for number one. Dovetails into number two, which is to use the power of pre-deciding. Pre-deciding is a game changer. You're making the decisions in advance so you're not caught in the moment, overwhelmed or unsure. So let's just talk about this through the lens of decluttering. If you are decluttering, it can be fruitful to pre-decide how you're going to handle donation piles or set a timer for 20 minutes and commit to stopping after that. When you pre-decide, you're taking the emotion out of the moment and making it easier to, number one, get started, and number two, follow through. Here's another idea where pre-deciding has really saved me over the years. And when I say saved me, it's helped me be way more consistent, make progress, all the things, right? And that is workouts. I have used a fitness app over the last several years. And on this app, there are like hundreds of videos. And for a long time, I'd open the app, I'd have my workout clothes, I'm like ready to work out, and I'd scroll through all the choices and I'd feel so overwhelmed that I would just like walk away. I wouldn't even work out. I was like all ready to go and then nothing. So now I pre-decide. And on Sundays, after I plan my outfits, I also plan my workouts for the week. And I write them down. So when it's time to exercise, I don't have to think about it. I just press play. And that one really tiny shift helped me stick to my routine and avoid that analysis paralysis that used to hold me back. So think about where you can apply this in your life. Workouts, meals, decluttering sessions. Pre-deciding can help you move forward without that mental tug of war. Okay. Number three, I love this one. I think there's such value in it, is batching similar tasks together. So when we're grouping similar tasks together, whether it's errands, going through your inbox, or decluttering sessions, can really help you stay focused and in the zone. And instead of switching gears constantly, which drains your mental energy, you can ride the momentum and check multiple things off your list, typically a lot faster. So I want to tell you about a client, we'll call her Sarah. Okay, so Sarah was struggling to keep up with her kids' school paperwork, like permission slips, forms, newsletters, all the things. And they were piling up on her counter. And every time she saw them, she'd feel overwhelmed. And I suggested that she try batching. And instead of dealing with each piece of paper as it came in, she set aside 20 minutes once a week to tackle the whole pile at once. And she got into this rhythm, signing forms, scanning documents, recycling junk mail. And within a few weeks, she had a system that really worked for her and her personality and her lifestyle. And this method can be applied to many areas of your life, right? When you group similar tasks together, you stay in the zone and avoid that constant gear shifting. Number 4, set clear boundaries for your brain. I use the word boundaries a lot. I think boundaries are such an important part of our lives. But let's put it into a decision fatigue perspective. A while back, I was helping one of my students, Emily, tackle her overflowing craft room. And she struggled to decide what to keep because, as she put it, I might use this someday. Anyone else? Have you ever had that thought? Yes, we've all had that thought, raising 2 hands. So in addition to doing some mindset work, giving her some frameworks to apply to her specific craft space and her unique challenges, we also set a boundary. And that boundary for her came in as a question. And she said if she hadn't touched the item in over a year and she couldn't think of a specific upcoming project to use it for, it went into the donation bin. So this simple rule took the pressure off of Emily. She didn't have to overthink each decision. It was clear cut, and she ended up clearing out so much more and so much faster than she would have otherwise. And she felt confident in her choices. I remember doing something similar in my own home years ago when I was going through my kids' toys. I set a timer for 10 minutes. So the timer was my boundary. And I told myself, I'm just going to sort as much as I can in 10 minutes. I'm starting with this one toy bin. And knowing I had a clear start and end kept me from tipping into overwhelm. And I was amazed every single time at how much I got done in such a short time. So again, boundaries can be time, they can be a question, guideline, or boundary. And the thing about boundaries is that they should not feel restrictive. They should feel freeing because they simplify the process. They help give you structure and help you focus so you can get things done without draining energy. And I like to think of boundaries like guardrails for your brain. They really, really work wonders. Okay, this last one, number 5, is so close to my heart because I used to push through exhaustion thinking it was just the only way to get things done. Spoiler alert, it's not. Prioritize rest. Rest seems counterintuitive when it comes to productivity and decision fatigue, but your brain is a decision-making machine. I think I read once our brains make on average like over 35,000 decisions every single day. And like any machine, it needs time to recharge. When you are running on empty, every decision feels like a monumental task. Getting enough sleep, taking regular breaks, carving out moments to recharge aren't just self-care or rest, they're productivity boosters. And among many reasons, that is why prioritizing rest is so important, but especially from this discussion today. And for me, this looks sometimes like taking 10 minutes before bed to read, going for walks during the day. It doesn't just have to look like rest, like sleeping. Or for me, I am an introvert, and so I recharge my batteries by silence. That can be hard to do when you've got kids, right? So I make sure at least once a week to have intentional quiet time, no noise. Typically that's after my kids go to bed at night, and I don't scroll my phone, I don't read, I don't do anything but lay there and just be with my own thoughts. And maybe a cup of tea, a cup of water with, lemon in it, something that feels good to me and warming, and it feels anchoring and grounding, and it helps. Truly, I feel like it's recharging my batteries. Remember that rest isn't a luxury, it's a productivity tool. So when you take care of yourself, you're recharging your decision-making battery so you can show up as your best self, again, among many other things. Before we wrap up, I've got something exciting to share with you. My free Ready, Set, Simplify weekly newsletter. If you've been loving the podcast, my newsletter is your next step. Every Wednesday, I'll drop bite-sized decluttering tips, mindset shifts, inspiration straight into your inbox. Think of it as your weekly dose of motivation to simplify your life. Plus, I always share exclusive insights and ideas that I don't cover on the podcast, I don't talk about on Instagram, so you don't want to miss out. It is completely free, and it is my way of helping you stay on track with your simplifying journey. So you can head to the link in the show notes to sign up, get your first dose of RSS this week. All right, friend, thank you for hanging out. It's always so good to spend time in your earbuds. And as always, you know what to do. Ready, Set, Simplify, and I'll see you next week. Bye.